Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm not going to say anything now because I want to pass on directly to Valeria Padrignani, who is here to welcome you. She is responsible for the Sistema Bibliotecario of Comune di Fano, so both the libraries in Fano, and I know that she's busy, so I'm giving the stage to her. Thank you.
Grazie Valentina, io parlerò in italiano, però ci tengo come rappresentante del Comune di Fano a ringraziare il liceo Notti Apolloni e in particolare il dirigente Giovedì e la professoressa Valentina Posti per aver portato qui a Box ormai da anni, da 8 anni, non mi ricordo neanche quando abbiamo iniziato. È stata una bellissima proposta, secondo me illuminata, visto che tra l'altro sul territorio sono poche le occasioni come questa, per Fano l'unica. Quindi siamo onorati di poter avere questo tipo di proposta per il pubblico, non solo delle scuole, perché è un'attività, è una proposta che è aperta a tutti. Ringrazio quindi appunto l'istituto scolastico a nome del Comune di Fano, in particolare dell'assessorato alle biblioteche, e l'editore Mattia che è qui e che insomma contribuisce insomma a realizzare questo incontro, l'incontro di oggi. È un piacere tra l'altro vedere insegnanti e studenti, quindi insomma diciamo un pubblico molto trasversale. Questa conferenza che è la prima di quest'anno, come gli altri anni ci sarà anche la possibilità di seguire l'incontro da remoto, quindi io ringrazio anche le mie colleghe che fanno la regia, per tutte le persone che seguono l'incontro da remoto, ma è bellissimo vedere la sala piena, insomma siamo convinti che stare qui in presenza, e lo dico anche perché però purtroppo sono da metà non possono essere qui, è sicuramente un'esperienza migliore perché c'è il desk con il ratturato dei ragazzi, insomma i libri, le persone fisiche che insomma rendono prezioso ancora di più questo incontro. Io passo la parola alla dirigente Giovedì e poi alla fine a Giovedì.
Solo per aggiungere anche i miei a quelli di Valeria ringraziamenti, non solo a chi ha organizzato, concepito, ideato queste occasioni di incontro, quindi a professoressa Foschi in primis, ma anche ai partner, diciamo così, istituzionali, quindi Mondadori Education, Macmillan Education, Cambridge e in lingua Pesino. Quindi ringraziamo molto, che sono dei partner anche prestigiosi nel settore delle lingue, che è uno delle missioni del nostro liceo, che è, tra le altre cose, anche un liceo linguistico, quindi particolarmente interessato a questo settore. Tra l'altro gli argomenti che sono stati messi in qualche modo a cartellone in queste edizioni sono davvero molto interessanti, anche molto proiettati sul possibile futuro della scuola della didattica italiana, perché si parlerà del ruolo che l'intelligenza artificiale potrà avere per nuove opportunità didattiche, si parlerà anche, se non ricordo male, ho qui sotto il programma del prossimo appuntamento, del pensiero creativo, in qualche modo tutto da concepire, da definire per le potenzialità didattiche nuove che può offrire, e si parlerà infine anche del cinema come modello, come fonte, come opportunità per la creazione di storie, di narrazioni, mettendo in relazione Shakespeare con Hollywood, e quindi con le trasposizioni cinematografiche dei modelli letterari. Quindi mi pare un cartellone interessante, denso, forse anche al di là del settore disciplinare linguistico, abbastanza trasversale. Peraltro, diciamo così, il concept complessivo di questo progetto è di sua natura trasversale, perché mira ad andare al di là dei box, degli schemi, insomma, delle scatole. Quindi davvero grazie ancora e cominciamo questa nuova serie di Thinking Outside the Box.
Grazie, thank you. And now I leave the stage directly to Megan, because we aimed at starting at 3:30, so I want to be starting soon. Also for the people who are following at home. So, and then I'll tell you something about the next seminars and how we're moving on. Okay, so thank you, Megan, for being here with us, and I'll leave to you.
Thank you. Hello, and thank you for having me. Okay, as you can see, today we're going to be talking about writing skills. We're going to be thinking about how we can develop our students' writing skills using AI. The first part, as you can see here, will be a plenary, so a more theoretical part, and the second part will be a workshop. Okay. However, I will also be asking for some interaction during the plenary too. Okay, so please be ready for that. Okay, I hope you don't mind if I look at my notes. There's quite a lot of information to share with you. So I'm Megan Walker, and I have been in Italy for 14 years approximately. I'm originally from the UK, and I'm a teacher and teacher trainer. I am not an AI expert. Okay, I'm not here for that reason. I am very curious. Okay, very curious about how it's affecting our students, how it's going to affect our work going forward, and so I'd like to share some thoughts on that with you. Okay. So, to start with, we're going to have a little introductory survey, so I can find out a little bit about who's here with us. Okay. And then I can also share with you a little bit some information about a survey that I conducted with teachers that I know. We're going to talk about what AI actually is and why we're talking about it so much. So I don't know about you, but I'm seeing topics about AI and teaching everywhere at the moment, lots of presentations and things. And so I want to talk about why. Thinking about the benefits and the challenges of AI in teaching in particular, and then considering why we should be using it, or even should we be using it. We'll move on to think a little bit about AI and our thinking skills, and we'll finish with a focus on developing AI literacy alongside writing skills. Some ideas. Then in the workshop part, we'll explore some of those ideas in more detail. Okay? So, this is where I'm going to immediately ask for some interaction. Okay? I hope you have your mobile phones with you, because I would like you, please, to participate in an online survey. Okay, so to join, you need to go to menti.com and use the code there, which is 83095567. Menti.com 83095567. Now, my first question is asking who you teach. I think there are a few people in here who don't teach, okay? That's all right. Please let me know what level you teach. Okay. Yes, thank you. Okay.
This is also for the ones that
Yes. Yep. Also, the people who are watching online can participate using their mobile phone. Working? Yeah. Okay, so we can see a big majority of high school teachers, but also some middle school and primary school. Okay, is that somebody here who teaches primary school, or is that online? Anybody here teach primary school? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we've got freelance teachers. Okay, but still a huge majority of high school teachers. Okay. Still going. Okay, I'm going to move on now to the next slide. Next question. Do you use AI tools? And you can choose which answer is most appropriate for you. No, never. Okay. Okay, so we've got a majority here saying no, never. All right. And then some that say they don't use them themselves, but their students do. And the smallest category is yes, I use them in class with my students. Okay, so that's the one that we're going to be thinking about today. So that's good. You're not already doing it all the time. Great. Okay. Next question. What would you like to know about AI and writing skills? Just a couple of words maybe here. Everything? Okay, good. I'm not sure I can tell you everything, but maybe I can tell you something to start with. Okay, so we've got a lot of questions about how we can use it and also how it might affect learning and how it might affect our students. So I'm going to close this survey now, but we will come back to it later. Return to the presentation. Okay, so what is AI? Because we've seen that a lot of us don't use it or we're not sure about it. So let's think about what it actually is. Okay, of course it's artificial intelligence. But is it really intelligent? Is that a word that we can use to describe this tool? So here's a definition of what it is. And I've underlined there the words human-like. Okay, it can simulate human-like processes, but it's not human. And I think in order to be truly intelligent, we also need emotional and moral intelligence. And I don't think we're there yet with artificial intelligence. But why are we talking about it so much as language teachers or in the language education space? It's an interesting fact here. Findings have shown that language learning is the biggest sector, the most common discipline for AI use in education. So more than computer sciences, more than engineering and so on. And I was a little bit surprised the first time I saw that fact. But then if you think about it, translators, for example, these are uses of artificial intelligence. And so this is why it's becoming so commonly used in language learning. Okay, so for example, there's a British Council report which is quite detailed, talking about how AI is being used in language education. And they found that there are 5 key areas, which are these. So speaking, writing, reading, pedagogy, and self-regulation. So you'll notice there, for example, we don't have listening. It's being used for speaking, for example, pronunciation tools, interacting with AI bots and speaking to them, so a conversational partner. It's being used for writing, particularly in terms of grammar and vocabulary, okay, correcting language, grammar checkers, and of course, translators. It's being used a little bit less for reading, but it is in there, mainly for vocabulary. And then pedagogy, this is things like creating materials, creating tests, and so on. And also mixing our approaches, so using AI tools to differentiate, which I'll talk about a bit more further on. And then finally, self-regulation. There are some studies about how AI is being used to deal with affect, so managing our emotions, dealing with anxiety, setting goals, and so on. So, some examples of that. There are specific language learning apps. You've probably heard of Duolingo, Babbel, and so on. Okay. There are chat bots, so you can speak to Hello Talk, to ChatGPT, for example. And language generation. So these are large language models that are producing language, like ChatGPT, speech recognition. So, for example, speech to text, and also text to speech. Virtual reality and augmented reality. And it's also being used for assessment. So you might be familiar with tools such as Turnitin, which is a plagiarism checker. So these are some of the examples of ways that AI is being used in education. I want to think about now the benefits and challenges of AI in education. All right, so the first one that comes to my mind in how I've been using AI is efficiency and time saving. Okay. For example, I've got a text that I need to write. I can write it in 1 second by asking ChatGPT to do it for me. Okay. So we can also generate things like lesson plans or lesson tasks, asking the AI tools to do the work for us. So we can save a lot of time. And moving on from that, specific searches. Okay, so if you ask a tool like ChatGPT to find information for you, to provide information for you, you can be really specific compared to, for example, a Google search. Okay. You can tell the tool its role. Okay. You are a teacher, and you need to give me information about the topic. Okay. I'll give you an example of that I used it for. I had a lesson to plan, and I was working in a state school, and the teacher said, please, can you do a lesson about ambition? But the student said, please, can you do a lesson about TV series? Okay. And I asked, what kind of TV series? And one said, I really like The Crown. I said, okay, well, I bet there's an episode of The Crown that talks about ambition. But I don't watch The Crown, so I have no idea. So that's quite a difficult thing to put into a search engine like Google, which episodes of The Crown talk about ambition. I said to ChatGPT, I have to prepare a lesson about these 2 topics. Please tell me at least 5 specific scenes in a specific episode which talk about the topic of ambition in the TV series The Crown. 1 second later, I had them. Yeah. So you can find really specific things that you need on that. You have to then go and check that it's accurate, but we'll talk about that a bit later on. Okay. I mentioned before variety, differentiating the materials that you use. If you have a lesson, you could then ask the tool, please produce a simpler version of this and a more complex version of this. And again, it will do it for you in seconds. Autonomy. Okay. If we encourage learners to use these tools autonomously, they can develop their ability to work more independently using the tools without needing a teacher to deal with every difficulty that they have. But of course, a note on that is that we need to help them with that. We need to make sure that they're doing it in an appropriate way. Accessibility. Okay, now this is something I'm going to mention as a benefit, but also as a challenge. So, provided we have access to technology, and that's a big point, okay, if we have it, it can increase accessibility to learning because people with different abilities, maybe those who physically can't attend or who have neurodivergences, for example, have access to a tool that gives them information and instruction that a teacher could also give. Thinking about some of the tools we saw before, text to speech, for example, could be really helpful for someone who has difficulty with written text, someone who's dyslexic. real-time feedback. Okay, if you put in a text into an AI tool and ask for feedback, it can tell you whether it's correct, whether there's something you need to change, and so on. So it can cut down the time that a student needs to make improvements before submitting work to a teacher. And another benefit, I think, is that technology is attractive and motivating to our students. So we have to recognize that they're going to want to use it. Can anybody think of any other benefits that you'd like to add? No? Okay, so we'll move on. We're going to go to the challenges. I think you might be able to think of a few here. Yeah? Okay, so technology is not perfect. It makes mistakes. It could not work. Okay. There might be a poor internet connection. There might be a malfunction with the technology that we're using. So we always need to have a backup idea when we're planning a lesson with technology. And moving on from that, these tools still have limited capability. They get things wrong. Okay. They can give us incorrect answers, incorrect information. When AI tools give you false information, it's called a hallucination. Okay? And these happen. These hallucinations happen, so we need to be able to check the information we're receiving from AI. For example, one time I asked AI to produce a text for me in Italian, and I looked at the text and it was definitely not correct. And I said, excuse me, why did you use that word there? And I said, oh yes, sorry, that's wrong, let me correct it, and put the same word again. So it's not flawless, it makes mistakes. And as I mentioned before about moral and emotional intelligence, there was an anecdote in one of the articles I read, which you'll see in the references, that a student was asked to produce a text saying goodbye to racism. This was the topic, goodbye to racism. And so the student decided to produce the text using ChatGPT. Please write a letter saying goodbye to racism. How did the letter begin? Dear racism, we've had such a great time together. Okay, so it's not perfect, it doesn't always get the tone right, okay? But we'll talk a bit more about how we could have maybe got the right letter. Something that a lot of people are worried about, lack of human connection. Okay, so we naturally want to be with others, we want to connect with others, and so some people are worried that the more we depend on technology, the more insulated we'll become, the less sociable we'll become. This isn't necessarily a direct link to AI, but the use of technology increasing in general. It could be an issue, but I think there are lots of ways that we can make AI and technology work alongside in-person events like today. Okay. Some people are very worried about their personal data, not sure how it's being stored, their privacy. It's a valid concern. I mentioned accessibility before, and I said provided we have the tools. Okay, but not everybody has access to technology, not everybody has access to the internet, and a lot of these AI tools have maybe a free version that's okay, and then a paid version that's much better. So it's favoring people who can afford to pay for it. Bias, okay. Bias is an important point here. Our society has biases, right? And those are perpetuated also in the AI tools. So there are biases against different races, biases against different genders, and so on. So we need to be really careful about that if we're producing material using AI. Okay, cheating and plagiarism. Okay, this is something that a lot of people are worried about, thinking maybe that the students will just do the work on ChatGPT rather than doing it themselves. Okay. In fact, there's a quote there from Chomsky who said that AI is the largest theft of intellectual property ever recorded since European colonists arrived in Indian communities. Okay, so he thinks it's a huge theft. He basically says that it is plagiarism and it is able to hide behind plagiarism checkers. But there's also an interesting statistic I found that it was a study from Stanford University, and they found that actually, whether students had access to AI or not, the amount of students that cheated did not change. So the idea was, if they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat and find a way to do it, whether they have these tools or not. Will we become lazy, having the tools doing all the work for us? It's something that people are worried about, and we'll talk about it a bit more on the next slide too, as we will also talk about, can AI replace us as teachers? Okay, if students can do all these things on their own without a teacher, will we be out of a job one day? Can anybody think of any other worries or challenges that they'd like to add? Oh, okay. All right. So, considering all those possible benefits, but also possible challenges, should we actually be using AI in education? A lot of people are really worried about it. In the survey that I conducted with the teachers that I know, a lot of people responded, I'm not interested, I don't want to know, AI is scary, and I don't want to know about it. But I don't think we really have a choice, okay? Because it's already here, and the students are already using it. So this is a statistic from the UK, but I'm sure it's pretty reflective of the general situation. Basically, 80% of teenagers are using generative AI tools, so the ones that produce texts. And even younger children aged 7 to 12 are using it. Okay? So, as we can see there, adult users, the percentage is much lower. So if we want to know what our students are doing and understand how to work with our students, we need to recognize that it's here and it's not going anywhere. And also, thinking about the future of our students, a lot of businesses are using AI, and we need to prepare learners for their future work. We can't send them off into the workplace not knowing how to use these tools. You can see here another quote. These skills at the moment, ability to use AI, is underdeveloped, and it urgently needs to be improved. So can we help alongside them? This means that, obviously, our learners, our students, need to be AI literate. So that means they need to understand the tools, be able to evaluate the tools, and know how to use them. And so do we. We need to be able to at least start to use these tools in order to help our learners with them. And we can learn together with them. And the final point of why we should be using it, well, we can use it for our own language. Native speakers are using AI to develop text and so on. So why would we deny that opportunity to learners of a language? Okay. We're going to focus a bit on writing more specifically now. I'm going to go back to the survey, so I hope you can open the survey again. Okay, so if you logged out of it, you just need to go back to menti.com and put in the code 83095567, and you're going to be asked to agree or disagree with these statements. Okay, I'll just give it 1 more minute. All right, so most people agree that writing needs regular practice. And most people also agree that it's important, okay? They don't think it's less important than other language skills. It's not only necessary for exams, it's necessary for other situations. I asked these same questions in my initial survey, and though the answers were very, very similar, everybody agreed that it needs a lot of practice and that it's quite important. But then I asked the question, and how much time do you spend on writing? Not enough. Classes don't have writing tests at their final exam. Almost none. A couple of hours. Too little, too many things to do. 1 or 2 lessons. Very little time. Not much, as we don't have a written exam any longer. Rarely, not enough, not so much, not enough, not much, I don't have enough time. Okay, would you agree with that? Some people are nodding. Yeah, I completely understand. You have a huge program to get through. It's very difficult to dedicate time to writing because writing takes time, right? Yeah. And so we've got a kind of middle ground of whether it's best for students to do it as homework. This is where the issue of cheating or laziness comes in. If they're doing all the writing at home, I wouldn't blame them if they think, oh, I don't want to do this, and they just get AI to do it for them. So we may need to be encouraging a bit more writing going on in class. Okay? I'm going to go back to the presentation now and talk about why. So, how important is writing in language education? I'm going to show you a quote here from an article. Learning to write is one of the most enriching aspects of any education. Why? Look at the points that learning to write helps us develop. Focusing our attention, increasing our analytical skills, using creativity, forming a point of view, organizing information, considering an audience. Those are not necessarily only skills we use in writing. We're going to use those as transferable skills throughout all kinds of communication. So this is why writing is really important. It's different from learning to speak. Most people might say that speaking is more important than writing, but writing gives us that chance to develop these skills with more time and focus, because when we speak, we have to speak spontaneously. So it would be a real shame to neglect these opportunities. If we just use AI to do the writing for us, we could be neglecting these opportunities. But if we work with the AI and we develop AI literacy, we can still learn all of these skills together with the AI. Okay. My concern is that if we don't use AI, they'll use it anyway, and so we won't be developing the abilities together. Okay. So these are actually reasons why we should use it. Okay, who's familiar with this? No? Okay, all right. So this is Bloom's taxonomy of thinking skills. This is a classification of thinking skills. It divides them into the lower order thinking skills and the higher order thinking skills. it's varying levels of complexity, okay? Sometimes people are surprised that remember is right at the bottom because we do a lot of work on memorizing things, okay? If that's you, if you're a little bit surprised by that, an example I would give you is think about actors, for example. Actors in a series like Grey's Anatomy. Does anybody watch Grey's Anatomy? Yeah, okay. They come out with these complicated terms for medical treatments or conditions. They probably don't actually understand them. They've just memorized their lines. So we can memorize things that we don't fully understand. And I see that a lot as a teacher. I see students just reading out texts that they've memorized. But when I ask questions, maybe they haven't really got in there and understood it then. And even then, understanding is only the second level. Okay? Beyond understanding something, we can then apply that knowledge, analyze it and evaluate it, and in the end, the peak of thinking skill complexity is creativity, creating something that didn't previously exist, originality. Okay? The reason I wanted to talk about Bloom's taxonomy, well, there are two reasons. The first one is because I think that in order to use AI appropriately, we have to have those higher level thinking skills. We need to be able to evaluate if what has been produced is appropriate, is correct, is what we were looking for, and in order to eventually be in the place to be able to create things ourselves. Okay. So every single time I've produced a text with AI, I've edited it. It's never been perfect. It's never been exactly what I wanted. And we need to develop that ability to look at it and evaluate what's good, what's not, and make changes. Okay. In the end, basically, I still have to know better than the tool. Okay? The tool can gather up the information for me. Maybe I can't remember all the information. The tool can find it for me. But I need to be the one who, in the end, is the editor and final producer of the text. There's a quote here. This is from Cambridge, from a Cambridge study. They did some research into essays that students wrote alone and essays that students wrote with ChatGPT. And they found that it was quite clear, the difference. So the ChatGPT essays did really well on the lower order skills, so finding the information and applying it. But when it gets up to analysis and comparison, they didn't do so well. And what I think they mean here is evaluation. Because the other reason I wanted to talk about Bloom's taxonomy, there was a really interesting article that I read. And they basically analyzed or evaluated AI according to this. So what can AI do? And they found that it was really, really good at remembering because it could just go and find all the information in seconds, okay? But it already fell short at understanding. It had no idea what it was actually communicating. It just gathered up the information and passed it on. It was then able to apply that. So, for example, if you ask it, please produce a text, these are all the facts about me, and write a cover letter for me for this job, it would write an appropriate cover letter. So it can apply the information it has appropriately. But it already was not very good when it got higher. It could not make evaluations, and the creations are not real. Okay? In fact, the article calls it a copycat creative, because it's not making anything original. So basically, it finds the information, it regurgitates the information in a new way, it doesn't understand it, and it can't critically evaluate what it's doing. There's a quote from the article. So we need to get around to this way of thinking, that AI is there to enhance us and to enhance also our thinking. We need to get ahead of the AI and evaluate it. Okay. So let's start talking a little bit about how we could do some of these things. And then in the workshop, we're going to try it out together, okay? So I wanted to share a few ways that we could start to use AI tools with our learners to develop our AI literacy and theirs together. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is process writing. Is anybody familiar with this approach, process writing? Okay, so this is an approach that I love using with students because it focuses, as the name says, on the process of writing and not the final product. So a lot of the time, writing lessons that we can find give us an example final product, and then we have to try to recreate a text like that. So if anybody's ever done exam preparation with students, maybe they need to be able to write a review. This is what a review looks like, now you produce it. That's called product writing. Process writing instead focuses entirely on how we get through the process and eventually reach the final product. So it has different stages. The first stage is pre-writing. Okay, so then we have drafting. So it's not just all about what the final product will be, but getting there by producing initial drafts, which we can then revise and edit. And finally, publishing our text. So in the pre-writing stage, we're generating and organizing our ideas, planning, brainstorming. Then we're writing a rough draft. We might show this rough draft to somebody, to a teacher, to a classmate, and then, based on the feedback we get, make some changes. We might need somebody else to proofread the text for us. And publishing, it could be that we really publish our text, but it might mean presenting our final copy to our teacher or posting it online and so on. Okay. And I think if we are worried about students just getting the AI tools to do their homework for them, we need to be looking more at process writing and not focusing so much on having a final end product. So we need to be going through these stages together with our learners. And I would also think that you could use AI at various stages of this. You could decide, today we're going to use AI in the pre-writing stage. So we're going to ask it to generate some ideas for us, but then we're going to write the draft. Okay. Or we could generate some ideas, give them to AI, say, you write the draft, please, and then we revise and edit the text. And so on. Okay, we could decide one of the stages, we're going to do it together with AI, but the others we're going to do ourselves. Okay. That also leads me to think a little bit about flipped classroom, so the flipped classroom approach where a lot of the information is received at home and then the practice is done in class. So maybe we get students to research something at home and then do the writing in class. Okay. The next point I wanted to make, if we want to develop our students' critical thinking around the topic of AI, let's include it, let's make it a central topic of our discussions and of our writing. So, again, this is a suggestion from the article that I shared before that talked about the benefits of writing. Some examples of ways that we could bring the topic of AI into our writing classroom. Of course, this depends a little bit on level. This is going to be more at a higher level. But at a lower level, it could be a discussion, for example. So we could be writing argumentative essays, narratives, comparing and contrasting tools, for example. Okay. Right. These are the skills that we need if we are using AI. We need to be able to fact check and verify what is being produced. Okay, so for example, I told you the text that I received that I was not happy with, I edited. Okay, we need to be able to do that. And that is a difficult skill, especially in another language that you're still learning and that you're not completely competent and confident in. So, some ways that we might be able to help our learners develop these skills. Firstly, okay, fact checking and verifying output. There are some tools that we could use, but the first suggestion that was given here in this article was using case studies. There are loads of news stories and things that you can find about times when use of AI has gone wrong. Okay? There was a case, for example, of a lawyer who used ChatGPT to produce his case. And then it was just full of inaccuracies and facts that were not real facts. Okay? So we can analyze those things with our learners, help them understand that these things are happening. And then, beyond that, there are tools that we can use. So, there is the Google Fact Check Explorer, or there is another tool called Claim Buster. And these can look at texts that have been produced and check if the facts are real, so we can train our learners to do that together. There's also Illuminati or AI or not, which we can use to check AI-produced images. Okay. There are also AI detectors that we can use, and in the workshop we're going to try one of these AI detectors, okay? For example, GPT-0 or CopyLeaks. I'll share a task later, okay? But we could be helping our learners producing AI texts and then checking them through these tools so that they can see what's coming up, what's going wrong with the AI-produced texts. All right, something that we really need to know if we're going to use language generation tools like ChatGPT is the right prompts to give it, okay? So, as you can see here, if you can give the right prompts, you can benefit more from learning with the tools. If you give the tool an inaccurate or an inappropriate prompt, then the result that you will get back will not be what you were looking for. So we need to communicate really clearly with the tool. We need to be concise, but we can give context. As I mentioned before, you could tell the tool, you are a teacher and you're going to teach a lesson about this, okay? You can describe what's already happened. I'm producing a test. Use these topics in class. I want to create a test that involves these different areas of language, for example. So give the background to the tool. And you can also role play with the tool. As I said, you can tell the tool what its role is. It's a teacher, it's your friend, whatever you want. Okay? I saw an example of somebody telling ChatGPT, you are my dietitian, okay? And we've already had this meeting before, and this is what's happened in the past, but now I need a new meal plan, and giving all the information. And ChatGPT will produce the meal plan that this person needs. But if that person doesn't tell the tool, I'm vegetarian, or I can't eat gluten, or I don't like cheese, then it will not produce a menu that's suitable for that person. So we need to give as much information as possible. There's another quote there about the benefits for the learners if they're doing role play with the tools. I think role play in general can be really helpful because we get out of ourselves a little bit and we can lose some inhibition. So doing that with the tool could be useful too. All right.
Go back to the videos.
Yes. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I included this image of mathematics here because I remember when I was at school, you got some points for getting the right answer, but you got a lot of points for your process being right. Okay? And you had to show your work. How did you get to that conclusion? A little bit like in maths, we could just use a calculator, okay? There are some things that we can do with a calculator and there are some things that we can't, okay? And with AI, it could be the same. So we could just have the AI produce the text for us. But as I said before, it's probably not going to be completely factually accurate. It might not be in the right style. And so there is a process going on. When you work with a tool like ChatGPT, it's a conversation, it's called chat. You go back and forth. So if you start with, please produce this text for me, the text immediately appears, you look at it, no, that's not exactly what I wanted, please make these changes. And so there is a process going along. Why not show all of the process? Ask our students to produce something with AI and show how they got to that final point. There's a quote here, and it's quite long, so I'll let you read it for yourselves. So this kind of links back to what I said before about process writing. Focus on the process. How do we get to our final product, and not just starting from the final product? This is a university professor, as you can see, and he is really, really excited about the fact that we could actually show the entire communication of how we reached the final result. All right, so some of these points that I've shared here, we're going to explore in a bit more detail in the workshop. I'm just going to share here the references. There are 2 slides of references, lots of really interesting articles. So if you want to take photos of them so that you can look them up, please go ahead. Okay, and the next one.
Adesso c'era un altro che gli chiedo su ci sarà la possibilità di visionare il materiale del webinar e chiedergli, ok.
Okay.
Cosa rispondi? Chiederò, adesso devo vedere come, perché
Just check it. Don't worry. Okay, so that takes us to the end of the first part. Are there any questions?
poi ci accordiamo con la relatrice per le modalità.
Is there a question?
There are questions. One is about the slides. I was saying that we will
Yeah, we'll share the
the
slides.
slides. We will see how, but we will share the slides. And the other one, there's another one. Do you want me to read now or?
Sure.
Okay, maybe I need to. Is it on? Okay. The question here is, do you need permission from parents to use AI at school? Which is actually quite important because I was thinking of the same kind of problem we might have. We always have problems with pictures and, but for AI, is it possible to use it at school, or do we need permission from parents?
It's a really good question. You might know better than me because I don't work in the state school system. I do work in state schools, but as an external person. Some of the different tools themselves have different age limits on them. So based on the age limit, I would say, obviously, don't use something with 12-year-olds that's only appropriate for 18-year-olds. But I don't know what the school regulations would be about that. I think that would be something that you would discuss in your school, in your department, and reach a conclusion there. I don't know what you think.
I don't know, I was actually wondering before, because I think there is also a law which doesn't allow students, if they're not 18, to use AI, I think.
I think it
actually, this, for ChatGPT, it is possible, because apparently what I did, it happened to me, I did log in, and I didn't notice that I needed to come back and, let's say, check or double check my age. So past time because I didn't use it. And therefore I was locked out basically. And I never come back because I didn't have time. So I think there is.
There's definitely an ID check there or an age check there on ChatGPT. But I think the point to consider there is whether they're allowed to use it or not. We've seen that at least 80% of them are using it. Okay. So it might be a question of if you're using it in class, maybe the teacher is the person who is responsible, and in that case it would probably be your school's decision of whether that is something that you need to get written permission from parents for or not.
And it could be something, to try in a language, in a lab, basically, I was thinking.
Yeah.
So the teacher is there and, some sort of tool we could use in the lab together with the students.
Yeah.
I'm thinking now of how secondary school, of course. I'm not sure about middle school. I haven't got that kind of experience. So maybe someone from middle school can tell us their opinion. But I think it's in middle school, after secondary school, I think it could be a nice experience to do something in the lab together with the students. Because you said before, and this is my question, you said we should try to guide our students to learn how to use it. And it's a very practical thing, more than just saying, you should do this and that. If you sit then next to them.
If you do it together, then you're learning alongside them and everybody's becoming a little bit more literate in using AI. And as I was saying before, they are using it. I mean, I've had loads of homework submitted to me that I can just tell from looking at it that it's got all the hallmarks of ChatGPT. So we've got to rethink the way we approach it. If we just say, write this for homework, then we could very easily get something back that isn't quite what we're hoping.
Which is often, the same story with Google. They Google it and they get something back. Now, if it's good or not, we know it.
But what we want them to know it. We want them to not submit it in the first place and actually be able to evaluate whether it's appropriate or not. So if we encourage the use of it, they will learn how to do that.
That's another, comment on that is that, my opinion again, so I don't know if you agree or not, might be, you said before, it might be, it's challenging, should be used correctly, but I think it's an opportunity to work alongside with the students because it's not that we should explain how to use it correctly, but why using it correctly it could be useful.
Yeah, exactly. And then doing it together and getting real practical experience.
I have a question, guys, girls, teachers, also from the students actually, because while Megan was giving her presentation, I was thinking, how many students have used it already, honestly? Has anyone used it? Hands up.
Nobody. Never used AI.
No one really? Are we so behind? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. No one has ever logged in ChatGPT.
Federico is the highly technological student. Federico, have you ever used it? Okay, hang on. Let me say he's one of the best students, not only for English, but also for the other subjects. But he's very good at all these technological things.
We were always about trying to use them when we to register, because it's something that we would like to share out with some information for such a purpose. But when there's been a way to look at them without having to sign up, I think the first time I managed was this Thursday, which I tried it because I was interested by it and explored it.
You actually do it because you knew there was this conference, this seminar.
Actually, no. I did it because I found that there was this feature and I was interested in it. Because I learned a lot speaking about AI and I never tried it. I wanted to see what I could get out of it and I tried to just have an idea of what it was.
And so it is possible also to use it without registering, without.
No, it depends on what you want to use. For example, I found out that you can use it on DuckDuckGo, the search engine. If you look for DuckDuckGo online and when you do the research, it appears on the top bar. There's an icon, and if you click on it, you are opening chat with an AI, and you have to agree to the license, which basically says that they aren't using your personal information to train the model, and that you have to use it in certain ways, but you can use it without registering.
Very much. Anyone else? From teachers, I'd like to get some feedback.
I was wondering whether the decision in Silicon Valley schools don't use technology at all. So, and of course, parents working there and sending their children, their kids to school, they choose not to use that technology. So that's an issue. And then I have a second question, which is not that here, but I was thinking of very often fact checkers, so-called debunker, are very often spreading fake news themselves. So is it possible that the same happened with these systems of control you were suggesting?
It could definitely be possible, yes. And I think the point that I want to make about encouraging learners to use fact checkers and so on is more about the thinking process behind it. So not just taking the text that's been given and accepting it as it is. Using a fact checker, maybe using another one, maybe going and looking elsewhere in their own way to find the information. Developing that skill of critical thinking around the text and around the tools. I mean, I've had loads of examples. I saw another one that a student had to write a cover letter because they wanted to apply for an Erasmus program. But they must have just said, write a cover letter for me. Because it was nothing to do with Erasmus. It was all about the job and the company and so on. So we need to encourage that critical thinking and not just taking what the tool gives you and submitting it as if it's perfect.
Actually, we can add something to this because I know that there are some companies who are actually rejecting applications, job applications, simply because they spot straight away that the cover letter has been produced or written using AI. It's what happens very often at final exams. I remember one that was in a commission, and there was this teacher just checking it that the student, when they were the thesis to be submitted, it was there just to check that the students had not copied the copy paste from internet. It's fair enough. I mean, we don't want our students to just copy. It doesn't make sense, does it? And the same thing in these companies. So
In the workshop, which we'll do after the coffee break, we're going to do an activity where we're going to look at an AI-produced text and then use a detector on that text. So we'll explore that a little bit more afterwards.
Any other questions before we have the break? Okay.
There might be some more later.
Okay. So we're having a break, half an hour. Okay. Upstairs there's coffee and something to drink to eat. And we're coming back here at 5, so that we have the second part. Okay. Okay. The same for the ones at home.
C'è modo di mettere tipo
No, ma come fai? Sì. Già lo portavo la forza, adesso
Yeah, so we were saying before.
Come stai?
Adesso si è un attimo lui con la ok, vuole sapere la rovina se poi vuole fare 2 parole con loro prima della fine del break. In che senso? Intanto mi hanno pensato devo fare sì, in modo da sì, io non ci sei stata zona perché di me una mezz'oretta
Sì.
Vediamo. Dalle vita ti facciamo male,
Esatto.
No, io faccio ora, ma vado a prendere qualcosa, ciao. Abbiamo preso qualcosa, lasciamo un piccolo. Però penso che lei non è situata. Sì. Downstairs. Okay. Alright.
Fine, thanks. I've changed schools, so it's fun working with you. Yeah. So did I. After COVID, I got this. I only did it for 2 years ago. I love that. Resources. So it's
Noi ci sediamo lì.
Okay, can we start and go back to our exam? Okay, welcome back. We're going to start in a moment with the second part of our seminar. I wanted to tell you something before we start. That the next seminar, as you know, is going to be on the 22nd of April, so it's Monday. Okay, and this one is what to give you exactly the title is with it's organized together with in collaboration with the Cambridge University Press and Assessment and Lingua Pesaro, and it's going to be with Sarah Ellis talking about encouraging creative thinking skills in the classroom. Okay, so it's another topic for us. And the last seminar of this year series is on the 3rd of May, which is Friday, and it's with Professor Arturo Cattaneo, full professor at Università Cattolica di Sacro Cuore in Milan. And he's going to talk about Shakespeare in Hollywood, how cinema used art as a status symbol and a model for storytelling. So here we're going to deal with literature, but also with history and lots of interesting links between the theater and drama, basically, and the cinema as well. It's actually published in the end of February, March, an interesting new book about how Hollywood has used the part for several interesting goals he's going to explain. So I think it's going to be useful. So having said that, those of you who have not done it yet, docenti di ruolo, okay, please do register on the SPIA platform because it is possible to do it only until this evening. Okay, so please do it today. Okay, because after the first date, you won't be allowed any longer. So I wanted to tell you. Okay, it's very easy, and you will get your certificate in the end, at the end of the whole series. So after the 3rd of May, either via email if you're not if you have not registered on Sophia, or you download it from Sophia directly. Once we've finished today, and the same thing for the 22nd and 3rd of May, those of you who are in presence here, okay, you can go at the registration desk, and there will be your printed certificate for today's seminar, okay, there. Okay, so this is important. What else? Yes, I think it's until midnight. So this it takes really 3 seconds. It's
I had an issue with my password.
okay. Ask because before someone else before during the break. I know how to do it. I usually do it on a PC, and I use my mobile to access. But there was some colleagues here who can do it on using the mobile phone. I've seen someone doing it, but I can't do it. I haven't done it. Okay, so I'm not very helpful with that. But please do it. Number, exactly. But someone has got issues in entering the platform. So that once you're in, it's easy because either you deal the code, or even if you run a thing outside, it comes out. Yes. So it's easy. You need the speed. Exactly, the speed. If you do on a PC, you enter the platform and then you go with the ID, with the yes. No, but it's with the mobile. I do it with the QR code. And you enter it directly using the app on mobile. And I know it works also with mobile.
I have a very old mobile phone, so
That's maybe that's the point. That's the point. Okay. Having said that, I'm going to pass it over to Megan again. I want to say welcome also to the ones who are at home, coming back, and I will close everything and say bye-bye in the end, also because we will have time for questions and answers before the end of today's seminar. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for coming back. All right, so this is the part where we're going to get a bit more practical. Okay. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about in a bit more detail now was developing prompts. Okay, so you mentioned before that it's really important to get our prompts right in order to get the right output. I wanted to show you some prompts. So I asked ChatGPT to suggest some prompts to me in the first place. Okay? So I said, I'm going to talk to some teachers about how to develop prompts for writing. What could the prompts be? And this is the one that ChatGPT suggested to me. Okay? So write a descriptive paragraph. He gave us a word limit as well, 50 to 100 words, describing a typical Italian dish. Include details about the food, atmosphere, and any cultural significance. This was the suggestion from ChatGPT. What kind of text do you think we're going to get? You think we're going to get a recipe? Something about pizza? Something about pasta? Okay, all right, could be. I'm going to show you the text that we got. Okay, so I then gave the prompt back to ChatGPT, and this is the text that it produced. Okay. Any comments on this text? What do you think? Is it good? Sorry? It's not a recipe, no, but I didn't ask for a recipe. I asked for a descriptive paragraph describing the dish. Okay? Do you like the text? Do you think it's good? Is it what you would have produced if you were asked to describe a dish? Tell me why not. What's different about it? because it's not a description of the dish, it's a description of the situation, okay? It's more, it's a story, kind of a short story about something like that. Would you write like this? I don't find it very realistic as a text, okay? Very particular style, a little bit exaggerated, okay? So I decided to edit the prompt a little bit, and the first time I edited it, I put this, okay? So I was thinking about what would a student write. So now you're an Italian teenager studying English as a second language. Your teacher has asked you to write this description, so who's the reader? But I kept the main point. Let's see again, what do we get? We have some laughter. Tell me why you're laughing.
Well, it starts again, imagine yourself getting around, so it's not the description.
It's again a little bit over the top, isn't it? The students at the back, would you write something like this if I asked you to write a description of a dish? No, some heads are shaking for the people who can't see our students at the back. Okay, I don't think it's very realistic. So I tried again. And this time I gave even more detail. You're an Italian teenager studying English as a second language. You are A2 level. You can use basic language to communicate. Okay? I decided myself what the dish was. Okay? Based on what it chose before. So you have decided to write about carbonara. Okay? Describe the ingredients in a clear and simple way. So hopefully this time we won't have imagine yourself with not now. Okay, let's see. Okay. Nice and clear. Okay. Is it more realistic for what our students might be able to write? Yeah. Okay. So you can see how I adapted the prompt to get to the conclusion that I wanted. Okay. And this is called prompt engineering. Okay. So we need to give more details. We need to be more specific. We need to ask for what we're really looking for. Now I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. Okay. So it's your turn. I'm going to give you some tasks, and I'd like you to, with a partner or with the people sitting close to you, discuss what prompt you might write. You can take notes if you want to, but it's up to you. Okay? These are the options of the tasks. Okay? So we've got different types of texts, different genres, for different readers, and different lengths and levels. Now you may notice they're quite generic at the moment. Okay, if you ask it to write a personal narrative just like that, we have no idea what we're going to get. So we might need to be a little bit more specific in our prompt. Okay, so please talk to the people close to you, choose one of these, and discuss how you might prepare the prompt. Okay? If you're online, of course, maybe you don't have someone sitting close to you, but feel free to write in the comments your ideas. Okay, how much more time would you like? Couple of minutes? Yeah? Yeah, 2 more minutes? Okay.
And you're interested.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. Don't worry if you didn't finish your prompt. I know some people have, and some people are even already putting it into ChatGPT. Have you had a response?
Yes, but we made a mistake. We didn't say you were a teenager, maybe.
You didn't say you were a teenager, so is the style not quite what you wanted? So then, you're critically thinking about that and you're editing it for the next one, yeah? Okay. So, is there anybody here who did not choose the friendly email? No? Okay. Right. I totally understand. So everybody chose the friendly email. Okay. Maybe this group, would you mind telling me something about what you wrote down?
You've written the friendly email. You are 14 years student with the H level of English. Write an email of 1820 words to your 10 friends abroad, talking about you, your family, and your hobbies.
Okay. Okay, great. So we included lots of details, included also the topics that you wanted in your email. I think most of you did that. Exactly, because otherwise you might go crazy and write whatever ChatGPT wants. So great, you put in detail. Did anybody want to share something different? That it was perfect? Okay. Hopefully it is. Of course, we're not trying out every step of this now, but if you were to put that into a generator and get a response that you weren't happy with, you might tweak the prompt, okay, make some edits, or you might edit the text yourself to get what you really want, or you can engage in a conversation with the tool and say, that's not exactly what I wanted, could you make it more informal, could you make it simpler, and it will do it. And you keep going until you get the desired result. Okay. So we mentioned that lots of tools are used for translation. Okay. In this task, I want us to, again, critically evaluate the output that we get. So we would use an online translator to review different translations. We give the original text, the students, or in this case, the teachers, produce different translations of the same text using multiple tools, and then evaluate them. Okay? So, I'm going to give you a very short and simple text, okay? A fun text. This is a little poem. It's called My Duvet, a Love Poem, and it's by Brian Bilston. Has anybody heard of Brian Bilston? No? Okay. You should check him out on social media because he posts funny little poems on Instagram and Facebook and so on, which you might enjoy. This is his poem. Duvet, you are so groovy. I'd like to stay under you all of Tuesday. All right. Now, what are the interesting characteristics of this poem? Okay, so it's a play on words with the pronunciation of the word duvet and the spelling. Exactly. Okay. With your partner, just for a moment, Can you think about how you would translate that into Italian and what difficulties you might have in doing so? Just for a couple of minutes. So just think about how you would translate it without a translation tool like the moment. Okay, so first of all, what difficulties would you have in translating this into Italian? To keep the rhyme, okay, keeping the rhyme. Anything else? To keep the kind of play on words that we have here. Yeah, okay. I asked 3 different translation tools to translate this for me. And now we're going to evaluate what we think of their translations. Okay. This is the first one from Deep L. I can see some laughter. What are we laughing at? Okay. You know what it means? Grooves as in the shape of something. Okay. So it's misunderstood the meaning of groovy, meaning like cool, right? And it's gone very literal. Okay. Is there anything you like about this translation? Nothing at all. Okay. All right. I was quite impressed that it understood words that are not real, because groovet and choose it are not real words, but it picked them up. Okay. Okay. Next one. This is ChatGPT. So a little bit better. Yeah, better because it understood the meaning of grooving this time. Okay. Is it good? Are you happy with it? No, not fully happy with it yet. Okay. The last one is Google Translate. Not happy with this one? No. Tell me what you don't like about this one. Automatic you don't like, okay? Okay. Right, so none of them rhyme. No, none of them rhyme. They've all chosen different words to make these translations, but none of them rhyme. So it didn't know it was a poem. Right? It didn't know. This could be our jumping off point. Okay?
You actually asked the ChatGPT or whatever it was, translate this poem into Italian, or was it just translate this into Italian?
I don't remember whether I used the word poem or
Because
not.
you said you didn't recognize
Yeah.
So you might recognize the note.
Yes, I did. You can see it. Thank you. Yes, please can you translate this English poem into Italian? But as we just talked about prompt engineering, maybe I could have said, try to keep a rhyming pattern, and we could see whether it would manage that or not. Okay. Once we've got our 3 translations, we can make a critical evaluation. We're talking about what we like and don't like about them. So there are things that I like, and there are many things that I don't like. Okay. I could make a choice because I've got 3 different ways of translating Ruby, and I could probably eliminate immediately scammalato. Okay. But then I could think about, is it allegro? Is that the right word? So of the three, maybe I'm going to choose Fantastica, but then I could start to think, can I think of something else? Exactly. Would you like to say into the microphone? Exactly. Okay. So we take these as a starting point and we get better, we improve on them. Okay. Did you get the whole thing?
Sei così carino che vorrei stare sotto di te tutto il mattino.
Okay, round of applause. So we're trying to prove that we could be better at the task than the tool, but we have a good level of the language. If that was difficult for us to understand, it would be more difficult immediately to come up with a good translation. Analyzing the three first might help us to get there. Okay. Now, I mentioned earlier that we were going to have a look at these AI detectors. Okay. So, I took a task, and the idea here would be you produce the text with AI. Okay. So we don't have first we write it, then they write. We produce the text with AI. It's based on a prompt. I took a prompt that comes from a sample of a B2 exam. Okay. This task, we would take the prompt, produce the text, then from the AI text, we try to make it more human, more natural sounding. Okay. So a little bit like we did by changing the prompts, but this time we're not changing the prompt, we're changing the text because the prompt is given. So, this was the prompt that I took. Please write a story of 140 to 190 words, which begins with this sentence. Jerry read the email and decided to go to the shopping centre immediately. The story must include a request and a present. I gave that exactly to ChatGPT. And I'm going to show you the story that I got back. Take a couple of minutes to read it. Okay, I think you finished reading. Any opinions you'd like to share on this story?
I think it's broken English and it's impossible, I think it's quite impossible that a student might know all these specific words.
Okay, and to be fair, I didn't tell the ChatGPT you are a student, etc., etc. I just gave it the prompt. So the language, I think, is too complex for the level. Okay, anything else? What is the plot? Yeah, there's no real plot here. Is it an interesting story? No? It's not an interesting story. Sorry. It's full of very specific details, kind of showing off with the vocabulary, but it's, again, a bit over the top and doesn't really... It's just shopping for the present. We don't really reach an interesting conclusion in the story. It's very exaggerated. You liked it. Okay, it's fine if you liked it. Okay, so probably, yeah, probably if I can say, probably you liked it because it had such a range of vocabulary in it. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. I don't think it's very meaningful.
She's already holding the beautifully wrapped present, and then they're actually looking for the present. So, so it doesn't make much sense.
Yes, exactly. She's holding a present in the beginning and then they're looking for it. Yeah, exactly. So that doesn't make much sense. Also, the present is, who is the present for? It says I need help to pick out a gift for my sister's birthday. But at the end, he hands over the present, so what, does he buy it on his own? It doesn't make a lot of sense, this story, okay? It does have some really nice vocabulary, but maybe a bit exaggerated for the level, okay? I put this story into the tool GPT-0. I copied and pasted it, yeah, and I asked GPT-0, tell me if this was produced by AI or a human. 98% AI, okay? Probably the one sentence at the beginning that came from the exam was the human part, okay. It's quite obvious that it comes from AI because there are these telltale signs of AI text that it's picking up. Okay. I just put it in. The tool, you don't have to write prompts for this one, you just put it in, set it off. We're going to use it now in a minute. Okay. GPT-0. So the idea is to evaluate if something was written by a human or not. And I've tested it a few times just writing something myself and it knew I was a human. So I think it works quite well. Okay. So here, I would like us to try to humanize the text we already have. And this is a task we could give our students. One way we could do that, for example, is say, okay, this is our text. Make edits to this text, put it back in GPT-0, and see if you can lower the score. So it's not 98% AI, but maybe it's 80% AI. You could even make that a competition. Who can get the lowest AI score and the highest human score? Probably to get a high human score, they need to completely rewrite it. Okay, but we could start from this 98, can we get it down? So together, I'd like you to think what you would do, what would you change from our original story to try and get your score down. And if you would like to try putting it into GPT-0, it's absolutely free and you don't need to sign up. You just need to search for GPT-0 and you can use it. Okay, it looks like this. Okay, so you would just put your text into there and then check origin, and it will tell you AI or human. Okay? So, I'll put the story back for you. Talk again to the people close to you. What changes would you like to make to our story to make it a little bit more human?
Yes, 9 minutes.
Okay, so I can see you have some ideas. Why not have a go at putting it into GPT-0? We'll see who here can get the best human score. Just to be clear, you do not need to make an account on GPT-0. When you're looking at it on a phone, the first thing you'll see is get started and make an account. If you scroll down, you can try it without making an account.
Ci sono quanto sono scesi? Ma si scrivono ogni tanto oppure no? Cosa? Si scrivono tra loro? No, perché tante volte. Io dovrei provare a entrare a vedere se hanno pubblicato le forme, chissà. Aspetta che sta facendo. Però sarebbe bello. Connesso, poi perde la wifi. È connessa così la wifi? No, perché non vedo lo spunto. Adesso sì. Devo rientrare? Ma io lo so, esatto. Uno, no? Per ragione uno. Vediamo se riesco. Adesso non devo accedere, no? Mi interessa, io voglio andare sulla mia mail dove dunque questi dove li ho messi? No, non li sono presi. Allora, questo l'ho messo su questo. Come faccio da qui ad andare sul drive? Non ci vado da qui. No, ci vado da applicazione. Queste applicazioni di Google. Se cerco drive, eccolo, ecco, vediamo un po' sotto. Ah, non l'ha installato. Non ci riesco a vedere. Io devo ripassare sempre il coso, sì, perché se questo non si vede. Cosa vedono? Questo vedono? Sì, ok. E quando vedono la sala, vedono la prima parte. Sì, quando giro, sì. Ok. Infatti prima che eravate noi che parlavate davanti, si girava e si vedeva questo. Perché io li vedo le sezioni, certo, tutte quelle che io non ho visto, certo. E sotto anche tutti i commenti. Che commenti? Sì, tanto mi sono commenti perché credo che la gente resta, credo, non è vero una collata. No, spero di non perché, però se per caso non commento può simpatico, certo, che poi non si può nominare, nel caso. Questo è ci credo, cosa è pazzia, guarda, perché io l'ho fatto sempre presenza, io il corpo presenza, la piena, stavo facendo piena, sono piena, quindi anche le ragazze.
Okay, if you are putting your text into GPT-0, don't worry about writing the whole thing. Okay, close it up, and in about 2 minutes, we'll see how it went. 2 more minutes.
Questa cosa qui il tipo di lavoro sia per la parte prima, sì, anche durante, e anche durante. Io riesco a seguire già prima quando anche non riuscivo a seguire, riuscivo quasi meglio online, anche se non c'è chi ti scrive sulle chat, chi ti scrive su WhatsApp, per quanti non riuscivo a entrare. Io stavo lì a presentare le istruzioni, mi arrivano i messaggi, non riuscivo a entrare. Ma per carità, questa è stata bravissima.
Io ho fatto poco, più che altro Francesca.
Sì, Francesca è stata bravissima. L'anno prossimo ti vediamo assolutamente. In presenza online, cioè in presenza online, insomma, che non si regge. Non se ne rende conto nessuno, perché sono tutti concentrati qui dentro, come giusto che sia. Cioè, dicono sempre che sono qui seduti, non saranno fuori, che sono anche nascosti.
Okay, so have you managed to put it into the tool? Just getting there. Okay. Did you do it? Yeah. What score did you get? Well done. Okay, so you got it down from 98 to 82 as a first short attempt. Very good. Okay. You will never get 100% human because it's coming from AI. So human is the green. Highly confident. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we actually got a score in the room of 95% human. Okay, but she told me that she pretty much rewrote the text, of course. Okay. People who edited it a little bit less, we had an 82% over here, very good. 89% AI or human? 89% human, very good. Okay. Now this could be a game. Of course, maybe we could use a much shorter text to make it a little bit less time consuming. But this could be a game where we can kind of compete to see who can get the best score. It's pretty obvious that the more we completely rewrite the text, the higher our human score is going to be. But the interesting thing about this is that, again, we're using our evaluation skills to see what is wrong with the original and make changes to it. So we could actually say, for example, to the students, you're not allowed to rewrite it completely. You have to use part of the text, and you have to find the right bits to edit, for example. So we're encouraging that skill of recognizing what is not quite right about the text, which we discussed before. You got a score? 0%. So your text is human written. Okay. Rewritten entirely. Okay. Well done. So you did manage to get 100% human. Okay. Good. With a completely new text. Okay. Good. All right. We'll move on and just look at the last suggestion here. Okay. This time we're looking at it the other way around. So instead of starting from AI, we're starting from human. Okay. And we're going to talk about the skill of summary, because summary can be really difficult. Okay. It requires quite a lot of skills. It's not the case of just producing a written text, but reading a text, identifying what's important in that text and what isn't, and rewriting it in a new way. That when I was studying languages at university, we had whole modules on how to summarize. Okay, so it can be really quite difficult. And here, I'm suggesting that you provide your students with an original text in the target language, so in my case it would be English, and the text would probably be quite complex, quite long, because they need to summarize it, obviously pitched to their level. So maybe a little bit higher than what they would be able to produce themselves. Okay. Ask them to write a human summary. Okay, so not using any tools. So probably they're going to do it in class. Okay. All right. So they produce their own summary. That will involve them reading and understanding the text, highlighting and identifying the important points, and finding their own way to rewrite them. There are AI summary tools. Of course, we could say to ChatGPT, please summarize this text for me, but there are also these ones, summary, summarize bot, etc., that can do summaries for you with varying results, okay? So they would then do what we did before, but the other way around. So compare their own summary to the one that is produced by AI. They might be very happy with their own. I think it's better than the AI. I would not be surprised. But they might find something in the AI text that has summarized better. So they might then be able to say, okay, let me make some edits to my own to make it closer to the AI summary. Again, the point is that we are comparing, analyzing, and evaluating. Now, here is an original text that I took from a news website. If you would like to scan it in, you'll be able to read this text. If your phone is very old, you might struggle, okay? Okay, maybe one between two is enough, yeah. Okay, so this is a text from BBC Newsbeat, which is a news website for young people. Now, I'm not going to ask you to go through the full process now, because we need to wrap up, okay? But at this stage, you would then create your own summary of this text, okay, trying to shorten it. But we're going to skip that part, okay? And I'm going to show you the summary that was produced by AI. So you can look at the first text, and then you can look at the second one, and you can tell me how you think it is. Is it a good summary? Or you could take it to a different tool again and try translations. This was summary. Okay, so I think most of you are having a look at the summary now. What do you think of the summary? Is it good? Okay. Okay, I think we're having some technical problems. Yeah. All right. Maybe I can ask you what you think of the summary.
Well, just bits and pieces, sentences actually taken out of the original text and put in a row, basically. It's not really a summary, is it? No. That's my opinion, and my opinion as well. We would do something different.
Exactly. I think if we were writing the summary as a human, we might do it differently. So that's quite encouraging, actually, because if we asked our students to produce their own and then compare it to this one, they might get a bit of a boost that they've done it quite well.
Which is actually, you made me think, it's possibly what happens in class. First year students, when you ask to summarize a passage, they tend to pick up sentences, and then we struggle to explain that they shouldn't just pick up sentences and just, copy paste some sentences, but really elaborate those sentences in the new text. I think it's our experience then.
Okay, so exercises like this then might help them to see why. You could show them some different summaries, different tools summarizing the same text. So like we did with the translation review, you could get maybe 3 summaries, compare them, which is the best why, which is the most interesting why. So that critical analysis, yet again, leading to them eventually being able to do the task alone without the tools. All right, so that takes us to the end of the workshop. All right, thank you very much for your patience throughout. Are there any questions? Okay, any questions? Or comments? Would you try any of these kinds of tasks at school? Yeah? Okay. Which did you like the best? Which of the kind of tasks? The GPT-0, okay, yeah. I think also maybe adding that element of competition can make it quite fun. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Really good thing.
General overview on different possibilities and different chances we have to use it.
Okay.
So it's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I kept repeating throughout, and the point that I wanted to make was, we need to be able to do better than the tools. Because you've seen here in these exercises, most of the things that the AI produced for us were not really what we wanted. We weren't happy with the translations, we weren't happy with the summary, we weren't happy with the story, and so on. So we need to be aware of that and be able to move on from that by critically evaluating it and readjusting. So whether that is changing our prompts or changing the output, we need to still be better than the tools. Yes, exactly.
And then to change into the improvements and try to use with the students. But before, I need to know, and I need to do some
Start practicing a little bit, yes. I think there could also be a temptation if you try to use AI to improve it and get it to where I want it to be. And through just trial and error and trying things out, I feel like I've got quite a nice relationship with my ChatGPT friend now, and he's doing the things I want him to do. But it took a while, okay? And as I said, I've never, ever copied and pasted something from there and kept it as it was, apart from the things in here that we didn't like that much, right? So I've always had to make edits and changes.
Are there any questions now online? Okay. Any other questions? I'm sure you've got a comment. At least.
I was just thinking something that I wanted to say since the beginning when you asked the question, but I didn't make it in time, that I felt like challenging myself, my creativity, and then compare it to AI and get it from there to improve my abilities. But yes,
I want to be beyond the AI
Exactly.
in this market. And I was telling my colleague here that it's better to teach our students how to level up with their English and let them try out the tool, let them master it, guide them on these steps.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Because they have to learn English.
Yeah. I think the point that we want to make is that if they're going to use it anyway, let's encourage them to use it in an efficient and effective way rather than just producing work that just gets them, okay, yes, you've done your homework, but doesn't get them moving forward with their language learning. And as I've mentioned, I've seen quite a few examples of that kind of work being produced. And the motivated students won't do that, they'll try, but if they're demotivated and they're not really interested, they might just produce work that isn't their own and submit it as is. So if we actually ask them to use it and have a process, then maybe they'll start to understand the difficulties of the AI tests.
Also having to develop their critical thinking. I mean, what we did here, because you guided us to do, could be done with the kids as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they always thought that the text is not exactly what we expected or what we would have liked to get from AI. So I think that also this critical thinking could be developed and improved for them as well.
What I use a lot, especially at the end of the lesson, are I did take quotes from famous writers or sports people, and I let them choose like favorite actors and films, and we check it out on the internet, and I dictate it to them, and then we start talking about it, so speaking about, and that gives them the input to research by themselves what they like and how to use it.
Yeah, really nice idea.
Someone else? Laura?
I would just like to say thank you for having me. And I would also like to say thank you for all the students who've given up their afternoon to be here. It's a long day for the teachers, but also for the students. And I didn't come around and talk to all of you, but some of you were working really hard on those tasks, so well done, of course. I'm not sure, the teachers, obviously you get a certificate. I don't know about the students, but
also the students
well done.
would like to get their certificate. I think as a recognition of their effort, to be here and to listen, because they were commenting at the back as well. So,
okay, so well done.
So thank you, everybody. Yes, I've got 5 minutes. I won't use 5 minutes, but I want to say thank you to everybody. I will, first of all, I want to thank you, Megan, because it has been a long day, I know it. And I want to thank you, Romina, this is representative for Macmillan Education. I want to thank you, Marco Camilletti, who is at the back. You know him. Okay, he's the one we get in touch for books and everything. And Kiziko is upstairs. I hope you enjoyed the day. I hope you enjoyed our, celebration, I think. I look at it as a celebration day, really, because it's something we've been thinking about for quite a long time, come back in presence. I want to thank also all the people who were online, and I hope they enjoyed it and they appreciated the fact that we tried to keep it online also for those people who were, connecting during these years from several different cities and towns from everywhere. So that was a big effort. And I want to thank you, the students who helped me with the registration and all the material. I want to tell you, before go back to the registration desk to collect your certificate that they've been writing your names. on that one. And please remember the next seminar, which is on the 22nd, with Sarah Ellis, Cambridge University Press and in Lingua Pesaro. And then the last day, which is on the 3rd of May, with Professor Cattaneo and Mondadori Education and Università Cattolica di San Giovanni. Before leaving, I would like really to pass on to Romina for a few words.
Very quick. Hello everyone, I'll be very quick, I promise. Just wanted to thank you everyone, teachers and students over there. I was there with them actually, so I could listen, and so well done. They were working a lot, so especially during the tasks now. So I'm really happy that you could enjoy. I hope that online people could enjoy as well. So we're really happy to be to help organize this, and thank you Valentina for the ideas and organizing everything. Thank you Megan for the great session, and thank you everyone for being here today. So if you have questions about the books and what we do as Macmillan, we have a website, macmillanenglish.com, that you can have a look anytime. Upstairs we have some books, and there are also my business cards, so if you need extra details or information, you can get in touch with me directly, and then I will put you through Marco if you need to, for example, order the books or have information about prices and all the boring stuff that I don't know about because I'm more academic. So, sorry, Marco. Thank you very much again, and have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you.
Stacco direttamente, così.